Guys, I think we'll start now. Is it fine?
Yeah. Yes, we can start.
We can start. I have also spoken to a few people. They will join online. So I will just briefly introduce Gautam. Gautam is my batchmate from the aerospace branch to 2013, 2017. Very smart guy, very dedicated software genius. Gautam worked in the flight dynamics group in URSC for 3 years, and then he chose to join the startup scene, and he joined Pixxel. I think he was one of the founding team members, I think, when they were just starting. And there he works as the lead for mission dynamics, mission planning and dynamics. He's also pursuing his master's, I think. Maybe he can talk a bit about how his journey has been while doing very intense work and also doing a master's. And he is also a very strong force enthusiast for free and open source software. So any of the uh, software geek students out there can get in touch with him to learn more about how he does things. He also developed an app in college. I hope the faculty is using it and telling the students to use it. Maybe he can touch on that also towards the end, and you can ask him some questions. I will now leave the floor open to Gautam, and once he's done, we can take up some questions from the students. Thank you. Go ahead, Gautam.
Okay, thanks, Mustafa. Thanks for the kind introduction. First of all, thanks folks for joining. I know Saturday morning is not a great time. I used to remember, I mean, we used to just skip breakfast and then like just, have an extended sleep on Saturday mornings at IIST. And especially February is like a nice time to have that. But yeah, I hope I'm audible and visible and then there are no issues with audio. Okay, I'll take that as an S. Cool. Sure. Yeah, I think I'll just get quickly started. Feel free to stop me anywhere if there are doubts, questions, or even anything you need a little more info around. So yeah, just give me a moment. Sure. Just a brief about myself. I think Mustafa did touch upon multiple aspects. I currently lead the mission planning and dynamics team here at Pixxel. It's been almost 4 years of me joining Pixxel. It was about, I think I was 12th employee when I was joining Pixxel. Now we have about 200 plus employees and growing every day. So it's been a journey of seeing from just 12 people in one room to having a larger facility spread across multiple countries, multiple time zones. So it's been a both challenging as well as a very rewarding effort in that scene. I did my BTech in aerospace engineering from IIST 2013-2017 batch. We were the batch where we had to first, I mean, our JE main, JE advanced, this was the setting which was changed slightly. So there are a lot of uncertainty before joining aerospace. I even had multiple decisions, whether it's even right decision to whether go for IST or, computer science. So I was also always inclined between aerospace and computer science, but really grateful that I took BTech Aerospace at IST to kind of wherever I am. Once I did my aerospace from 2017. After that, I joined URSC as a flight dynamics scientist in the orbit dynamics division. I was working in multiple missions across both LEO and interplanetary. I was part of the LEO and interplanetary division. So kind of used to work in all the radar sats, RISAT 2B series, even Chandrayaan 2, the ground passing orbit determination algorithms, and also as part of the Cartosat 2F, Cartosat 3 missions. Learn a lot about how things work when there is like a day to day on the launch day what happens, and on the launch plus 7 days what happens. So there are a lot of learning that went behind in the 2-3 years at ISRO. Post that, I decided to kind of move to Pixxel. I also am doing MS in computation perception and robotics from Georgia Tech, kind of balancing between the position at Pixxel and also masters. I'll briefly talk about it a little later, but that's briefly about me. About Pixxel, I'll just give a quick brief overview, and then we'll get started in what our mission, vision, and what we are up to. Pixxel was founded by Avais and Kshitij when they were in their third year and even some part of the final year. At BITS Pilani, they were college mates, and then they decided that when they were working with multiple images from satellites, they found that although it can do some things, there were questions which could not be answered by the current data which exists today. So there was a lot of scope to, they never wanted to build a space company. All they wanted to do was work on algorithms that can provide applications. But then there was a huge lack of data where we stand today. And then it kind of spun the idea of Pixxel and where we stand. It's been almost 6 years now, 2018. I think next week is our 6th anniversary. So it's been about 6 years of Pixxel. Today, as I mentioned, from less than 10 people team, today we have like a 200 plus full-time employees. We are majorly divided into satellite engineering and data engineering. I'll briefly talk about those as well. But we have folks joining who have made the microsat-cast satellites, lunar rovers, lunar landers from team members. There are a lot of consultants, a lot of folks from ISRO, DRDO working with us as well. And also we have about, including me, there are 5 IISTAA alumni across different teams. Our camera team is led by Annie, who did her masters in optics in IIST. So there are a lot of folks from IIST leading the teams because of the experience and also the work they have done as part of their internship at IIST or as part of internship there at ISRO. So that's where today we stand. Pixxel as a company was always, the mission and vision was always to build a health monitor for the planet Earth. We do that by detecting, monitoring, and also predicting what is happening around the world. To do this at scale, you need a lot of data. You need a lot of different, varied amount of data. So the aim was to always build the satellites that get these data and also build the data pipeline that can enable us to do this. So the large mission here is to give the policymakers and also the decision makers the kind of data which they would be needing to take these decisions, so that the data-driven decisions are something which will fuel our upcoming challenges, especially in terms of climate change. There are challenges which need a lot of data, and then those data still don't exist today. I'll just briefly touch about where we stand today and what exactly is when I mean building health monitor for the planet. So today we have a lot of satellites. We have a lot of cartography satellites, radar satellites, ocean sats. ISRO has like a fleet of Earth observation satellites. They are made for very particular use cases. Even today, where we stand, food security is a very large problem. As the population grows, today we are still losing about $540 billion, because of crop getting destroyed due to multiple diseases, not having attentive people to take care of the crops at the right time, at the right pace. We also have, you have seen multiple news articles where there are these oil and gas leaks, either from pipeline or from ships which are leaking. So there is like mishandling and these pipelines span over millions of kilometers. So I mean millions of square feet. So what happens there is these are at a remote places, and it's very, very challenging to understand where exactly in the pipeline the oil or the gas leak can occur. It would be too late before you even find that, okay, we have a leak that's occurring. We also have water pollution that's becoming a major challenge. Almost $4 billion being lost annually due to the mishandling of water and then the effects of water pollution. So what our satellites today can do are, through the different multispectral satellites, we can always get the crop health, which what I mean is the basic crop health with which you'll be able to kind of identify these are the large varieties of crops. This is what the approx crop health looks like. And even pipeline, we are able to map the pipeline, that we are able to distinguish that the pipeline goes here, and these are the places where you're able to demarcate that this is for oil, this is for gas, and whatnot. Even water bodies at coastal regions, we are able to see them today. But to solve these pressing problems which are upcoming, what you need is from going from a basic crop health to a detailed pest and disease map, which means there are different diseases that affect different crops differently, and depending on the season, depending on where they stand, you'll have to take different actions, right? So to do all this, you need right set of data. Especially during harvest seasons, you need different kind of data, and during sowing season, you might need a different kind of data. So the idea is to understand and provide all these detailed pest and disease map with which people will be equipped to take decisions. And even pipeline, from just having pipeline data, we need to kind of monitor the latency that's required by the decision makers, so that you'll be able to quantify what is the gas leak that's happening. I mean, you don't want to deploy a team before knowing that, okay, this is something worth attending to, right? So we are planning to move from just having a basic pipeline map to somewhere you can quantify the oil, gas leak, and whatnot. And even in terms of water body, where we need a lot more data when the water pollution is happening, what exactly is the concentration of the different chemicals, so that there are bodies which govern, so that there are different industries. If they are trying to pollute the water, you'll have a much more quantified data with which you can have a chat with them. This is how the overall concentration looks like around your area. This is how the different chemicals that's going to look like. So all this needs different set of data. We need to look at from different dimension. So that's where Pixxel is aiming to build the world's highest resolution hyperspectral constellation. So when I mean highest resolution, there are already hyperspectral satellites that exist. Even ISRO has one hyperspectral satellite called HISIS. I was part of the team working from mission design to orbit dynamics. So what you see here today is we are equipped to handle a much larger ground sampling distance. What I mean is the pixel to pixel distance. If you look at let's say a panchromatic data or a multispectral data, you'd be somewhere around like 1 meter, 2 meter. That's like a very normal industry range today. But when it becomes hyperspectral, I'll also address the challenges of hyperspectral. But when it comes to 5 meter, there are a lot of applications that need this high spectral resolution and also this fine spatial resolution. So it was a tough problem to solve, where you need to kind of maintain the signal strength. You need to collect, 50 times, at least 50 times more information from the same satellite, and also ensuring that you are collecting this at 5 meter sampling distance. So we are doing that by ground up, working with our camera technology, and also we are not just building single satellite. It'll be a constellation of hyperspectral satellites, so that we have a global coverage of the planet, which means we're able to access any part of the planet any day. So if there are any emergencies, anything that we need to attend to, one of our satellites will be there to take images at any day. That's when we mean 50 times more information, 5 meter GSD, a global coverage constellation. So yeah, I talked a lot about what are the problems, what we can't solve today, and what we need. I have a very short introduction about what exactly is hyperspectral. A lot of people here might already know, but it is just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Hello, yeah, Mustafa.
Bro, we can see the slides, but it is not full screen.
Is it fine now? No.
No, it's still in the it is not in the presentation mode.
Okay.
Maybe you can share entire screen and then try.
Is it fine now?
The screen is black on my end. Now it is white. Okay, bro, you can keep it in the editor mode and then change the slides. We'll see if that works.
Great. That's what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll share the entire screen. Give me a moment if this is fine. Is it fine now?
Hello? Hello, bhai. I think in the layout na, you have kept as slide layout, I think.
So that's actually something. Is it fine now? Yeah.
Yeah, now it's better.
Yes, bro.
Okay, perfect. Is it fine now? Okay.
Yes.
Apologies, guys. I thought it was some other call, but Mustafa was trying to call me. Sure. Okay. So just giving again, I have run you through this, but we're trying to build health model for the planet. As I mentioned, there are constellations today that are blind to different data types. What we need is like different pest map and also quantifying the gas leaks and making sure that we have satellites which can analyze the harmful chemicals and making sure that we're able to quantify. This is where I was. As I was mentioning, Pixxel is building the world's highest resolution hyperspectral constellation. I have a very short intro video about hyperspectral as a technology and what it means and how do we do it from ground up. Let me know if the audio is coming after I play the video. So,
when we see the world around us
is the audio visible? I mean, is the audio coming?
Yes, it is audible.
Okay.
When we see the world around us every day, we are able to recognize most of the things by their color. This is because our eyes can sense the reflected light from any given object and can get a rough idea of the material and composition of the object. However, our perception is limited to what meets the eye. To truly unravel the depths of our world, we must see the world through a different lens, and that is hyperspectral imaging. Hyperspectral imaging is a transformative technology that unveils the intricate behavior of light and gives us hidden, useful information about our world. To understand hyperspectral imaging, you first need to understand how traditional cameras work. Traditional color cameras are similar to our eyes. Their sensors capture only 3 primary colors of light: red, green, and blue. And therefore what we see is the combined value of these 3 wavelengths. The next step is multispectral imaging, where we can get 10 to 20 wavelengths of light, having more information than a normal RGB image. But hyperspectral sensors go beyond this limitation, dividing the light spectrum into hundreds of numerous narrow and contiguous bands, capturing detailed information from visible to shortwave infrared spectrum. Each pixel in a hyperspectral image contains a spectrum of information, revealing the unique fingerprint of the materials or objects within the scene. It can also be called the reflectance spectrum, and by analyzing these spectral signatures, scientists can discern subtle differences that elude our naked eye, unlocking a wealth of information about our environment. One of the greatest benefits of hyperspectral imaging lies in its ability to improve our agriculture industry. By analyzing the reflected light from crops across multiple wavelengths, we can detect stressed crops, identify nutrient deficiencies, and optimize resource allocation, ensuring food security and minimizing the ecological impact of farming practices. We can also study the unique spectral fingerprints of harmful pollutants and mitigate environmental hazards more efficiently. It allows us to protect ecosystems, conserve biodiversity, and take proactive steps toward a sustainable future. Moreover, hyperspectral imaging can play a pivotal role in mining crucial resources. It can differentiate between various minerals with precision, help us map mineralogy, and detect valuable deposits more efficiently, saving time and resources, and minimizing environmental impact. The power of hyperspectral imaging lies not only in its technical prowess, but also in the collective spirit of our innovation and collaboration. It's a tool that empowers us to protect, understand, and cherish our planet. And that's what we aim for at Pixxel. Using hyperspectral technology, our goal is to unearth problems that are invisible to the satellites today and build a 24/7 health monitor for the planet.
Okay, so that was brief about Pixxel and the hyperspectral imaging technology itself. As I mentioned, what we see today is we're not just building cameras or satellites. What we are building is another dimension in Earth observation, so that something you see it as like an infrastructure where it kind of caters to multiple industries, multiple use cases. So anything from agriculture to oil and gas pipeline to mining to even climate change and ecology. So when you build the infrastructure from ground up, making sure that you have the constellation which can daily refresh the data. It was not a easy task. It is still a challenging task ahead of us. Where we started in 2018, we always wanted to do it in baby steps. Before we can run, we need to kind of crawl and walk. So that's when we kind of laid down the flight path. So this is where our overall roadmap of the company should look like. So initially we started with what was very existing hyperspectral technology, which is like 30 meter. Let's ensure that we are able to get that right. So we had our first tech demo mission in July 2021. Post that was a 30 meter satellite. We already started parallelly building a 20 meter satellite. It was slated to launch in Feb of 2022, but due to some last minute snags with respect to our, especially with respect to our GPS system, we had to kind of pull out of the launch at the last moment. I mean, like a week before launch. So that kind of became a launch in November 2022. So that became our satellite 3. Meanwhile, our 10 meter satellite, which was like the 10 meter GSD satellite named Shakuntala, that is already on par. So we kind of like preponed that launch. And then in April 2022, we had a satellite 2 launch. So instead of going 30, 20, 10, it became the roadmap finally became 30, 10, and 20. Even till the last month, somewhere January 18, till January 18, we had all the 3 satellites collecting data, but the satellite 2 kind of deorbited on January 18. So we have currently 2 tech demos already up in space collecting data. The second satellite, unfortunately, could not. It was not meant for more than 2 years of operation, and also the altitude very heavily degrades, because today we are something called at a solar maximum, where the drag on the atmosphere is the highest. Like whoever has taken like an orbit dynamics course or an atmospheric science course would know that like today we are at a solar maximum. So maintaining satellites at the correct altitudes today is like a big challenge, and it kind of varies differently. So this is all in the past. Where we are headed, towards launching our 6 Firefly satellites, which we call as the VNIR satellites, which are the commercial grade 5 meter satellites. So the complete camera technology is already tested, already launched, already we got images. I'll also be showcasing few images here. But where we stand today, if you come to our office, you can see 6 satellites getting assembled in parallel in our clean rooms. From there, the idea is to get towards expanding the hyperspectral regime. Today, we are operating from 400 to 900, 400 to 1000 nanometer spectrum. But the idea is to expand it up to 2500 nanometer, so that you can unlock new use cases when we go to shortwave infrared. That's something we'll be taking up in the Q2 of 2025. Post that, the idea is to top up more and more satellites and building the complete constellation, which will orchestrate itself to provide the global coverage data. So that's somewhere in 2026. So that's the overall idea on where we were, what we are up to, and how we are heading towards. So yeah, this is the launch footage from our second satellite through SpaceX. When we launched April 2022 transporter mission, where post that, that was a very overwhelming day in the entire company, where till the first signal arrives, it's really a very tense moment in the mission operations center. So having all that said, I'll be showing some of the images which came from multiple tech demos here. I think most of these are from satellite 2 here. we had put out some of our top images where you can take a look at what are the different use cases that images actually cater to. So these serve as something like a pathfinder satellites where we are already able to prove the camera technology and also prove our image processing pipeline, especially when it comes to hyperspectral images. The image volume is like humongous. We are talking about 50 to 100 times more data for a single image. So that automatically means the space to ground link, which brings the satellite images, needs to be really state of the art. So today the satellites have somewhere around like 100 Mbps, or around the largest satellites go up to even 500 Mbps. But we need in this form factor, what we are making, we needed to build the downlink capacity to allow this much transmission of information from space to ground. So from ground up, we had built up a lot of changes to the satellite bus so that we can incorporate this much volume of data. So what you see here, I think most of our favorite image, I think across the entire company, that's our one of the images from Australia, where it's a very interesting image where like there are different farmers who kind of do different crops. So the idea is to identify crop types and just going one more stage where different crops, you're able to identify what growth stage they are in and how much is the chlorophyll content that is present in different crops, and going one step further where we are able to predict the yields on that crops. So it is a very challenging image, challenging technology that needed to be built. There are few more images where especially in Saudi Arabia, you will see there are these farmers who use rotating farms where the water is supplied in a different farm area. There also it becomes a very challenging problem to kind of identify the crops. We also work with different oil and gas and mining companies to understand where they are today mining, how our data can best help to either help in their exploration or helping in our mapping. So Permian Basin is one of the hotshot areas of hydrocarbon reservoir. So our satellites collect regularly data over Permian Basin. So we have like an archive of data built on Permian Basin to kind of understand like who are the players that are doing what they are, and are they really following the government guidelines? Are they really mining how much they are supposed to mining? So there are a lot of data that can be provided to policymakers. So those are some of the top images from our satellites today from orbit. As I mentioned, when we wanted to build the hyperspectral data analysis, we very early identified that the amount of volume you're dealing with is just enormous, and you needed and even the technology or even the ground software was not fully built out to kind of handle this much volume. We're talking about like, as the video also mentioned, we are very limited to the perception of our eye, but so we needed different software that can swim through all the data and then kind of find these insights. So very early we realized that we needed like a complete geospatial analytics platform, which will work alongside from the satellite. So we're not just a company who just builds satellites. We are also working on the downstream where once these satellites bring down the data, what do we do with the data? How do we process? How do we add different levels of data? And how do we provide like advanced levels where the data scientists or even the decision makers are having the exact insight what they needed. So so what you see here, I have a very short video about our geospatial analytics platform. This will be alongside, today it is in a beta phase, but this will alongside be released as and when our satellites go up, the commercial grade satellites. So what you would see here is the different workflows that can be kind of built. So even you don't really need to have so much experience about what hyperspectral means and how do you work with. So I'll play the video now. So. Yeah, so that was like a brief intro about what the geospatial analytics platform is. You'd have noticed there are a lot of indices that came up during the video. So that's basically what we call as spectral library. So just launching satellite is only part of the problem, but the idea is to have a spectral library, which what it finally means is like a particular band combination would solve a particular use case. For example, like 670 nanometer plus 780, and then there are different already existing indices like NDVI, which can give difference between what a vegetation means, what different crop type means, and whatnot. So the idea is to build out all these indices. We are also researching about new indices that can be built out based on Pixxel's hyperspectral data. So what you see is, as a user, you're going to come to the platform. You have mostly a problem to solve. You might just want to know about what your crop yield is going to be, what your crop health is going to be. So just a natural language question to the platform. Downstream, it takes care of understanding what data that needs to be collected and what are the indices that needs to be applied on top, so that you're able to provide maybe you are a farm owner, you just want to know how the overall yield is going to be. You don't really need to know like what is spectral library and why different combination works. So that's all already built into the analytics platform. So it'll also serve as our analytics platform and order desk, where it kind of takes the if it already has the data, it's gonna give you the information. If it's not, it's gonna go back and place the order to our constellation. So that's why that's how the entire analytics platform worked together with the satellite. So having said that, of course, space is really hard. It requires a lot of capital, a lot of intensive capital, which needs, both from designing, testing, and also launching mission operations. It requires a large initial funding. We have been fortunate enough from multiple early stage funding companies and early stage venture capitalists. I'll also be briefly talking about where we stand today. But recently, almost like a month back, we had kind of inaugurated our what we call as Megapixxel, which is the complete spacecraft manufacturing facility, which is today in parallel making 6 of our Firefly satellites. It's well equipped to handle up to like 20 microsats. The entire satellite is built out. Last month we had an inauguration from ISRO chairman. It was a very like the day where we remembered, like, we're all in one room, and from there we have come to a place where it's spread out of it's a 30,000 square feet of facility where you have labs, clean rooms, mission operation center, control center, all built into one single roof, to kind of nest it to whatever you would want to do in terms of designing to operation. So that's where we kind of stand today. I'll briefly talk about our team, especially the mission planning and dynamics team, which I lead. This is something like we have started from, of course, one person. I was the only one in the mission planning team when we started. From there, we are today 12 people and also a few other interns. We take care of the end-to-end life cycle of the complete program. When I mean end-to-end life cycle, we start from looking at customer requirements, basically why it means this is the kind of GSD they would need, this is the kind of latency they would need, all from understanding and having conversation with the customers, and converting that into some kind of a constellation or a mission design where, okay, these are the number of satellites we need, this is the kind of data that needs to bring down, this is the kind of revisit that the satellite needs to have. So we go into something called like a concept of operations. So we kind of initially work a lot on design. And once the design is frozen, our team also works on the guidance, navigation, and control, which is the attitude and orbit control of the spacecraft. So as you know, like the satellites they need to be completely autonomous. They need to work on their own, ensuring that they're able to charge on themselves. They're able to downlink the data. They're able to take images all on their own. So the complete autonomous system, which is the AOC system, takes care of all these switching between objectives, switching between modes of the spacecraft. That requires a lot of simulation in ground to understand how does different contingency can affect the satellite. So we do a lot of simulation, and then we move to something called testing. there we have like a digital twin where it's like a software mock-up of the spacecraft, where we have like an integrated test bed where you're able to like challenge your flight software with something in ground. So you're able to give some corner cases and try to understand how does the satellite perform, especially when some contingency occurs. And finally, once we are today in the testing phase of the Firefly mission. When we go to operations, it's like initially what we call as LEOP, where there is a lower there is a launch and early operations phase. It's like very fragile in terms of life of the satellite. There are a lot of things that are just like new. There are a lot of components, a lot of software logics which are like not fully tested out. So it's a very fragile moment for the entire mission operation. So any wrong thing there can have a larger impact. So we do a different commissioning of different parts of the spacecraft. We also have like a constellation scheduling system, as I mentioned, taking in different orders. We are able to exactly distribute it to different satellites and understand which satellite has to capture which user's order. So that's all, but we don't stop here. Once we do the operations, which we have done for the tech demo missions, we take in a lot of feedback into the design. So that's where the design kind of completes. So you start from design, you do simulate, test, operate, and then you learn a lot. You put it into the design of the next satellite. So that's where the overall iteration works. And that's how we have been trying to follow at Pixxel, especially in the mission planning and dynamics team. Just delving slightly deeper into what especially our team is up to, and what are the different skill sets and different qualifications that are required in different domains. So I lead 3 major teams. There are people who are aerospace, physics, math scientists who work on the orbit dynamics side of things. So they are people who are thorough with astrodynamics, ensuring that what is the sun synchronous orbit, how does it work, and how can we define the concept of operation for a particular given mission. It also involves a lot of requirements engineering, basically trying to sit with the systems engineer, trying to understand what the commercial team would need, trying to match so it's like a knife edge where you need to kind of balance between the cost, timeline, and the reliability of the spacecraft. So that's something like very challenging. Even one extra new requirement can cost you so much time or cost you more people or more effort. We also have an attitude and orbit control team. This is a pure control engineers. They are control scientists where they implement all the autonomous estimation and the control algorithms. So we have a lot of sensors like gyroscope, magnetometers, reaction wheel torquers and whatnot. So these are different sensors and actuators that work in tandem to kind of understand where exactly we need to be, and given a requirement of the mission, how do we kind of satisfy? We also have a satellite simulator, as I mentioned. Like you have like a set of aerospace and controls people working there, and we have the final team, which is the mission software team within the mission planning dynamics team, where they are people who are again aerospace astrodynamics scientists. We also have a few optimization engineers. There are a few people, maybe there are some courses actually in IISTAA which offer optimization also as a elective. I happen to take optimization elective as well. So we have an operations research role where we kind of understand it's a proper multidimensional optimization problem where you have customer orders, you have very limited resources. You need to kind of match what matters the most for you. So it's like there are uncertainties in terms of taking decision. You have like cloud cover. You have like satellites that can go out of operational life, maybe a brief amount of time. So taking all this into account and ensuring that the schedule that reaches the satellite is kind of optimal, and that is kind of optimized for revenue, optimized for spacecraft resource. Apart from all of this, of course, we don't just build satellites, right? We also have multiple other departments like finance, legal, commercial, strategy. So there are a lot of open questions, including even in engineering, where you have mechanical, thermal, electronics, power electronics, avionics, across all teams. We are somewhere around 120 people in the space engineering team, where we have mechanical team, camera team. I'll also be showing the open position that exists and kind of internships that different skill set can match up. So this is something I took yesterday night from Pixxel Space Career website. We have openings across all the departments, as I mentioned. We have few around like the electrical and electronics engineering, where we are looking to someone who can do the digital electronics side of things. We also have approach like supply chain is a big issue in space, especially understanding what are the different vendors that you need to work with, how does their timeline look like, how does their reliability of the component look like. So inventory is something we need to be like very, very thorough. So we have like a strong supply chain team. We also have, of course, UI, UX, all the things which you see in the platform. We also have a strong camera team, as I mentioned, like Annie from IIST heads the camera team there. So we have like optomechanical, optical engineering questions open. We also are building out the sensor specialist, where when we go into short wave infrared regime, it becomes a little more challenging thing to work with because of the temperatures that they need to be at all the time. We're also at a growth stage of the company. So what we are kind of looking for in most of these roles are someone with project experience. When I mean experience, it's not just really working with Earth observation companies or working at ISRO or whatnot. It is someone who has done some kind of relevant projects which they can kind of transfer to the industry problems which we have today. We also have, as we head into the launch of 6 Fireflies, we are kind of expanding the mission operations team today as well. There are people who need to kind of like take quick calls and having a complete system engineering of the spacecraft understood. What it means to switch on this component, what it means to switch off this component. So it's a very strategic role. So there are mission operations, mission planning engineers. As I expand, there are other programs also we are working on, which is the shortwave infrared program, where we are in the design phase of the mission, where you need to have the systems engineering team. That's the team that kind of does a lot of trade-off. So there is a lot of like in the last 2-3 years, one major thing I have personally learned is there is no design without a trade-off. It always comes at a cost of either time or people or resource or reliability. So you need people who can like see this disciplinary across what it means to add, like let's say 100 watt more in terms of power generation. That's a place where it's great for power engineers, but it adds mass, it adds cost, it adds flexibility. So the control of the spacecraft is going to become trickier. So system engineers are people who are able to connect the different systems and try to understand what one impact on one subsystem means for others. So that's a little strategic role. Again, that's someone we are all looking for. You can always go to the Pixxel Space career page or shoot a mail at join@pixxel.co.in. Yeah, as I mentioned, we are completely funded today for our first phase, which I mean the launch of the first SWIR mission. We have investments about at least approximately $71 million we have been funded till date. Multiple investors from Lightspeed, Bloom, Accenture, even Google, Techstars, Stanford. So there are multiple very well-renowned Earth observation companies with Earth observation investors we work with. We also have some of the advisors who have been part of these large Earth observation constellation, and they're always able to guide us in terms of finance, legal, and whatnot. Apart from also the entire ISRO ex-scientist, who at least we have one ex-ISRO consultant in each department, where they're able to bring in their experience from, say, URSC or SAC, or even from BSSC. There are people who are able to kind of help us support in this is how the guidance system needs to be made. This is the kind of reliability we'd be requiring when it goes to space. So yeah, I think we are kind of spread across here, both in terms of tech as well as in terms of commercial, finance, and whatnot. So that majorly kind of concludes. I wanted to keep it kind of short so that I can take more questions and keep it a little more interactive. Thanks a lot for taking this time. Yeah, we'll take questions about anything here. Feel free to shoot. Yeah.
you very much for the splendid presentation. Very about why hyperspectral imagery is important. I believe in the last 1 2 weeks, it has picked up on social media platforms as well that why hyperspectral is and the synergy between the different types of Earth observation techniques.
Right.
So I request him to coordinate in the council hall for some questions. And if we have questions from online participants, they can maybe put it in the chat box. And I will coordinate from here and ask. And Shubham, you can pass the mic to the students. Thank you.
Hello, Bhaiya. I'm Siddharth from second year BTech. So I have two questions. One related to how imaging you do means there are many unnecessary data that also come into the sensors. So what do you do to avoid all those unnecessary data and focus on the specific land pieces that you need? And the second question is how you define your company as different from other who are working in hyperspectral imaging, and how it makes it different from others. That's the point.
Okay, got it. Maybe I'll take the first one. So as I mentioned, like the volume of hyperspectral data is humongous. So we are not imaging all of Earth all the time. So it's properly it's not like Sentinel or Landsat satellites where they are making something called Atlas of the entire Earth. But our aim is not that. We have specific customers who order their specific use cases or areas. So which means if you have a 10,000 hectares of farm, you're going to draw that boundary. Our satellites are going to exactly capture only that part. And it will downlink over our ground stations and then ensure that we're able to get that. Of course, there is some part of the images, every image, we always add some buffers in terms of starting slightly early and ending a little late. That's okay. That is part of the entire image acquisition plan. But having said that, we are not imaging all of Earth all the time. We are imaging only parts which are ordered or which are of interest. So I hope that answers the first question.
Yeah. Thank you for the first question. And the second question, how it makes different from other.
Right. So there are few other like very recently there are few other hyperspectral companies as well. Where they stand today, like even today, even till Jan 18 when we had a re-entry, when we had a deorbit of our Shakuntala satellite, that was the highest resolution hyperspectral satellite ever existed. In the commercial domain, again, we are unaware of all the space agencies which work with different defense and government contracts. But in the commercial domain, Shakuntala is still the highest hyperspectral resolution. When our Firefly satellites launch, which is in June, July of this year, there will be no other 5-meter hyperspectral constellations or even the satellites. So the idea is what we do is there are multiple ways to build a hyperspectral sensor. There are spectrometers, spectrograms, and there are multiple ways to do. But our technology is from ground up. It's a slightly different one, because of which we are able to collect this much amount of data in the velocity which we are talking about, and also the kind of volume that we are able to bring down. So I would say like no other hyperspectral companies, at least in our own overall market riches, is not up to this level where they have like a tech demo mission or even have a data. And our camera technology is slightly unique from ground up. That will ensure that we're able to collect hundreds of bands without compromising on the signal to noise ratio. So that's where the difference comes from. And once you have 6 satellites up in space, it's going to be a global coverage, daily refresh, and that will provide a significant. So it kind of solves spectral resolution problem and also a spatial resolution problem. And once you have 6 satellites, it kind of solves the time resolution problem also. So these are like usually 3 dimensions of the Earth observation, and having this constellation would allow you to do that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Hey. Hi.
Actually, you shared something about the open internship opportunities. So can you please go back there again and explain the 3 domains in a summary, something like that?
Right. Just give me a moment. I hope this is visible now. Yeah. Right. So as I mentioned, I think the internships are not really put out here because those are mostly we have interns across all departments. These are mostly decided by the leads, by the engineering managers of the departments. So like we used to look at even short internship, but we are today at a place where like we encourage 3 to 6 months internships, which means both your final year project and even the third year end internship. That is something slightly challenging, but given the final year project, it's usually a preference from different departments, different managers, different team leads. But especially suppose let's take in our in our team, we have intern positions open for say attitude and orbit control and also for the mission software development. So which means if you have a skill set of say someone who can work with Simulink, someone who can work with software in loop simulations, just trying to understand how does the control algorithm works, what is PID, and why tuning this P works differently and whatnot. And in mission software, it's mostly like there are open source software. As Mustafa also mentioned, I'm like a big fan of free and open source software. I used to contribute a lot when I was in college. So most of our simulators and the operation software is built on top of already existing open source software. So this kind of enables us to like iterate quickly. We are not solving here, very ground level issues where how does the Ranga Kita integrator works. That's not the aim here. We will get there when we want to, but already the existing interfaces, existing open source packages allow you to do that. So so having someone who can experience with say Python, Julia, or Orchid, these are some of the libraries which you can explore. But having said that, the curriculum in ISRO already enables you to do that. Both in aerospace and avionics, you can take a look at the controls, aerospace, and even orbit dynamics, optimization. These are something that allow you to especially apply for interns in my team. But that does not stop you just from mission planning. You have all the other departments also available. And like our talent acquisition team is usually very enthusiastic about getting application from someone from IIST because they know that they have the curriculum. They also have worked with say different professors who have the experience of working in ISRO and having the experience working with different teams. So I would say for the internship portion, it's not just out there. I would say feel free to shoot a mail to join@pixxel.gov or even personally to me for our team. I'll be able to put it in the right place. And then internships are something just like little on the spot you can spin depending on actual need, depending on how good the candidate is in terms of skill set and whatnot. So does that answer, or was it a little convoluted?
Sure, it answers that. Thank you so much.
Hello, Bhaiya. So I'm Vignesh and I'm a master's student in structures and design. So I have 3 questions. The first is, what is the difference between hyperspectral and multispectral imaging?
Right. We'll go one by one.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think first of all, I think as I mentioned in the first video, where multispectral usually works with something like 10 maximum up to 20 bands. So you have these large bands which are spread across visible to near infrared to shorter infrared. So it's basically you're dividing light into 10 or 20 large buckets. But in hyperspectral, we go a few steps further. We're able to divide light into very, very narrow contiguous bands. So you're able to split light into exactly different wavelengths. And having said that, what happens is when there is a crop or when there is a material on ground, it kind of exhibits a different signature in different light depending on what its actual state is. So you might not be able to see this when you actually combine everything put into one large bucket. You'll only be able to differentiate this when you have these narrow contiguous bands, and you're able to see that. Some applications require you to ensure that you're able to see that narrow band, and that's where the hyperspectral comes into play. So.
Okay, sure. And second is, what would be the scope of a structures engineer in your organization?
Right. So if you see here, we have like a mechanics team where we have structural, thermal, and a little mechanisms team, and also the propulsion system. So it's kind of divided into four: the mechanics team, structures, thermal, propulsion, and some part of mechanisms. So especially as a structural engineer, it's a little challenging work in terms of event structure. So because for the satellite, once it is in space, structurally there is no load. There is, that's one of the best place to be in for structures. But to do that, it has to go through a very, very rigorous launch, right? So you have, we're talking about like, the PSLE loads. If you take a look at, there are PSLE user guides or even SpaceX user guides, you will notice that the G-force or even the sinusoidal vibration that's experienced by the satellites are, humongous. And also ensuring that we need to do all this, ensuring you need to place different components in their places. For example, it's a very, very tightly packed satellite, right? Every single kilogram costs a lot of money. And there are very, very strict constraints around, there are star trackers which needed to be exactly placed in such a way that it can look at the complete space and not Earth or not Sun. And then there are solar panels, and then there are like batteries. You have magnetometers, torquers. There are a lot of components that have a lot of constraints in terms of where you can place them and what makes the most sense. So it's a multi-dimensional problem. Again, you need to reduce mass. You need to keep the center of gravity within the center of the mass. You also need to ensure that you're able to pack and you're able to survive the entire load. So I would say it's again we recently performed a vibration test on our satellite as well. So it's a just exactly what it would see during launch. So it's a very multi-dimensional role. Again, understanding the system requirements, where you can place components, where you can't place, and coming up with the primary, secondary structures, integrating all this so that like thermally and structurally it's feasible. So there's a lot of scope in terms of aerospace structures. I'd request you to take a look at the job description for structural engineer. As I mentioned, we are looking for someone who can run these FEM analysis, run this requirements engineering and whatnot. So.
Sure, that seems interesting, sir. And the last question is, when you're hiring for candidates in your systems engineering team, do you actually look for candidates who have a hardcore background in systems engineering, or do you look for someone who has worked across different domains and who has got a grasp of the various domains?
Yeah, it's actually, it's not a black and white plain answer. Sometimes this works, sometimes that works. It's purely someone who has that grasp of. So basically, if you look at systems engineering, right, it's nowhere in depth, but you are very broad, right? Mm-hmm. So you are someone who can understand multidisciplinary role. You're able to understand, as I mentioned, like how impact on one subsystem component can affect another subsystem. So this connect mostly comes from working with the satellites, working with different larger systems. That doesn't mean like, we need only the people who are experienced. There are roles which are at junior systems, senior systems, and even lead systems. So I would say, again, take a look at the JD and also just go ahead and apply. We will be able to evaluate on a case-to-case basis. Even the industry courses, right? Even in systems engineering, when I took a look at it, those are things which cover mostly the methodologies. For example, there is something called model-based systems engineering. That's something which is very upcoming in the industry. So they cover a lot about modeling, a lot about methodologies, but having the experience of actually applying it to some kind of satellite or some kind of, say, automotive industry, it's something that comes with time, something that comes with experience. So I would say it's a case-to-case basis. We'll have to evaluate to see where exactly it fits. So,
thank you so much, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello,
hi.
Sir.
Yeah. I am Bhargav from the BTech third year. I have a small doubt. How the spectral imaging is different from the SAR synthetic aperture radar, I have heard that SAR satellites are used to spy the other countries and army bases because it uses electromagnetic waves to map the Earth. How the spectral imaging going to give accurate image data when compared to the SAR?
Okay, that's a good question. Right. So, I mean, I've briefly, like a couple of years, I've worked with RISAT in ISRO. I'll just come from a place where how much ever I know, I'm not a expert at SAR. I don't know how the exact technology works, but just a difference between hyperspectral and SAR, where hyperspectral is a passive imaging system, which means it is still dependent on sunlight. So it is what we call as electro-optical systems, where the sunlight which gets reflected from the Earth kind of gets observed by our camera. So it's exactly how our cameras work in phones, cameras work in, say, DSLR or whatnot. But in terms of SAR, it's a completely new dimension where it's something that, as you mentioned, it works in radio spectrum, where you're able to kind of understand the differences in time of a particular wave and when it kind of reflects and reaches back. By doing this, one major advantage you get is you are not anymore limited by sunlight or day or night. So you're able to do SAR imaging even at night, even at places where you have little to no information. But there are limitations on SAR, there are limitations on hyperspectral, there are limitations on multispectral. So it's not usually like this or that game. So it's actually this and that. What I mean is there are scientists who need in combination to use both the data to derive some analytics. So this can solve, it's like a piece of the pie. Hyperspectral can solve some part of the problem, SAR can solve some part of the problem. And that's how in tandem we need people who can put these together to kind of exactly tackle the use case that people would need to solve. So. Does that answer?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. I'm Shrishti from machine learning. I'm tech in machine learning. I wanted to know about how that machine learning technologies are applicable to space technologies.
Okay.
Means how is it applied?
Okay, that's a very good question. Like already you would see we have space engineering and the data engineering team. I'll maybe talk about data engineering, where that's where the most use of machine learning comes into play. So if you look at the size of the data which we collect every day, it's north of at least 5 to 10 TBs. We are talking about like humongous data, which is 1 million square kilometer per day. So when it comes to this level of data, it's impossible to do humanly manual tasks. So we have, you would know, I mean, I'm not, again, well versed with the data engineering techniques, but examples like, let's say you want to identify edges of the farms or even edges of the roads. So these are some things which are already solved in multispectral domain. These are some things which are like we are able to, if you take a look at the entire Google Maps or even let's say Sentinel images, you have these value added levels of data where these are already built in. So we have a very strong computer vision team and also the machine learning team, which work together to ensure that the natural language with which the users are going to ask questions are converted to finally some kind of workflow in the backend in the platform. So yeah, I think like a lot of scope is existing in computer vision, especially in deep neural networks, and especially in segmentation, especially in work around ensuring that we are able to do at this level in hyperspectral. So that's something our machine learning team is up to today. So yeah.
And also, is there any opportunities for MTech?
No, I would say I think whatever you see, whatever I put out there are the opportunities that exist today. Open questions, which means they are already budgeted, already open, already scouting for candidates. But we are always enthusiastic about getting people who have worked with, especially say you are someone who have worked with machine learning and remote sensing. So you're able to kind of understand how does say segmentation work for multispectral or even hyperspectral data. So these are some things which we are always looking for. even if there are no open questions, I would say just go ahead and shoot a general application. We also have a general application in our portal, and also feel free to reach out to me, or even we also have Chaitanya, who was also a MTech in remote sensing in IIST. He is in our applications remote sensing team, who can help you out with getting the application through.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
We are done with the questions. Yeah, sir. Actually, there is a one request from my side. Actually, sir, like Pixxel Space came to IIST for campus hiring only for MTechs, but they don't consider BTechs. So why is it like that? If they can give the opportunity to BTechs also, because from the junior batches, the ISRO bond is not there. So if they can consider BTechs also for internships through campus and through like pre-placement offers, so that will be a good opportunity for all of us.
Honestly, there's no distinction between, let's say, someone at BTech or MTech, and what kind of differentiates you is the projects you would have worked with, or maybe the work you would have done. As I mentioned, we are slightly in a growth stage where it's important for us to scale people who have done the work, and also when I mean done the work, it could be just an internship. Like for example, I was part of Biome, Aero Club, and even the satellite nano satellite club. So we were part of the nano satellite team where I was doing the orbit dynamics and the mission design work. So almost like last 11, 12 years, I've been in this entire orbit dynamics as a thing. So I would say, like when you are looking for internships, or even someone like have a T kind of knowledge, which what I would say is try to work on broader things. For example, you don't need to really in second year or first year itself pick up, okay, I love thermals, I'm going to get in-depth knowledge of how the thermal systems look like and whatnot. So I would suggest having the broader scope initially and kind of explore multiple domains. It could be compressible flow. It could be, I mean, I'm from aerospace. I'm just giving examples in aerospace. But looking back, I mean, I wish I could have done a lot more work on the electronics hardware. Like that's something which I always missed. Very focused on software, very focused on the hardware, very focused on the software set of things. I kind of, although there were people available, I mean, my batchmates who were available to help me out with in the nano satellite club, maybe working with some sensors. What exactly is a oscilloscope? How does it work? What is a spectrum analyzer? I mean, there are a lot of small things I could have picked up even in college. So I would say just have that exploration where you're able to kind of just have a broader overview, in the sense when you do this, you will come across maybe 2 or 3 things which is like most interesting to you, or maybe that's something you want to like make career out of it. So that's when it's time to start delving deeper into 1 or 2 things. That happened to be me for the guidance, navigation, control, or even the orbit dynamics. So yeah, I think, but so as I mentioned, we don't differentiate between MTech, BTech at internship stages. What would differentiate yourself is like what are the broader work you have done, and what are the projects which you have done, which you can kind of showcase and also explicitly write about. This is something I've noticed in different applications also. Like we're able to talk about like the project name and what we have done, but what, as at least me, when I'm hiring for interns, what I look forward is what are the challenges that came up. No work in the any domain is actually just straightforward, easy to do. There will always be challenges. It could be like setting up a package, setting up a software, or it could be trying to understand how does the physical measurement of a sensor work. It is anything, but you always have challenges. It could be resources also, like you didn't have the lab to do that. So just talking about the challenges and how did you overcome that. So that is one major thing which is kind of lacking in most of the applications. So I think taking a look at your CV where and also you're tailoring it for different roles. It's not like the same CV you are going to submit it for like even structures, systems engineering, or camera specialist. So that's something that doesn't work. We get like at least 100 to 500 applications per role. And it's impossible to go through go through each and everything, right? So we have a talent acquisition team who look for these kind of challenges. Okay, how are the challenges they overcome, and what are the projects they have worked on? So just highlighting all this would put you in a slightly different place. And yeah, I think I would say like give it a try with an updated project, with an updated scope of your work. Yeah, I think we'll be able to take a look at it. So.
Okay, thank you for all this advice and suggestions. We will take care of all these projects and the skills we have to improve on ourselves.
Right.
So yeah, I think from offline session we are done with the questions. If there is anyone who want to ask from online participation, they can.
I can see Avinash's raised hand. So.
Has raised his hand. I'll just put in a point in between. Gautam, I saw on the slides that you have mentioned research-based roles as well, research solution. So, like just a suggestion, like, will it be possible for you to maybe kind of involve second-year students as research assistants, right?
Right.
So they could be in college and they could help you with literature survey and things like that. And then after that, by third or fourth year, you can offer them internships, and then if they are doing good work, they can get a job. So like a pipeline can be made for, like you groom them while they are doing their BTech, so they become assets for the company later. So maybe this is something you can think on. And
okay, that's good idea, Mustafa. I'm gonna note that down, and also I'll have a chat with the talent acquisition team. As you mentioned, I think before even we start making some project, there is a lot of literature survey that needs to be done even before where you want to start. So I would say I think that's a very good idea. So.
And one question which I had is, so hyperspectral imaging is technically, like, I understand what is happening, but what kind of insights are you able to get from, say, 50 spectrums versus 100 spectrums versus 500 spectrums? And are there actually use cases? Like, is hyperspectral technology ahead of its time in terms of finding use cases, or do you already know the use cases which can be solved by hyperspectral?
Okay, got it. A pretty good question. I'll try to answer it in two ways. One, as you mentioned, what 50 can do, 100, 500. Today we don't have satellites which can do 500. That's something. It's going to be a very challenging work. Basically, like at a diffraction level, you need to solve a problem at optics level to do remotely anything of that sort. So yeah, as I mentioned, multispectral somewhere stops in 20. We can do 100. So what already we have seen is, as I mentioned in multiple slides, we are able to go one step further, where you're able to if you take agriculture as a domain, we are able to classify crops even more. If you see, like, we are somewhere today at 86 to 87% in terms of crop classification accuracy. So we're able to do that. Like, compared to multispectral, that's like a huge jump in crop type classification. That's something on agriculture. But if you go to, let's say, oil and gas, we are able to understand where the leak is happening. We are able to understand. We also imaged some of the use cases. You can also see, even last week, we released something called a forestry white paper, which analyzes how we are able to understand how the forest actually has been declining, and what are the government initiatives that are taking. Is it in the right direction, wrong direction? With all this data, you're able to give a much more quantified information. But having said that, I would say it's going hand in hand. Like, for example, you are at a place where you want to find more use cases, but for that you need the data. And then people are not ready to fund because they are not able to see the use case. It's like a chicken and problem. You need to do it one step at a time. We are at a place where, okay, we will solve. We already know at least, we are working with somewhere around 100 customers today. There are people who already need for their use case hyperspectral data. So we're going to do that, and then it will solve some part of the problem. Some use cases would come up. As I mentioned, it's see something this as an infrastructure. For example, when GPS was built at 1980, nobody thought like, Uber as a company would be using GPS to navigate people from one place to another place. So I would say they go hand in hand. You're able to solve some technology, some users come, then more money, more traction gets, and because of that, you're able to again reduce the cost, improve the technology, and it kind of goes hand in hand. So yeah.
Thank you. Avinash, are you able to unmute or do I have to change? Okay, yeah, okay.
Avinash, you're not audible.
Avinash, you are still not audible, Avinash. Okay, I think he left the meeting here.
Yeah. They just give it a minute.
So got one more question.
Yeah.
So like has come up with the planet variables, right? Where there are some sort of index which gives you a good insight on some sector. So similarly, is Pixxel also planning to bring in such things on the Aurora platform, and will it have student access in the future?
Right. That's a good question. I think I would say spectral library, as I mentioned, right? That's one of our major core IP, which means today we are doing somewhere around 20 indices already natively in platform. As and when more data comes in, there are remote sensing scientists and also application experts who are working alongside to make these new indices, right? We're trying to come up with indices that work the best for, say, Indian crop type, chlorophyll content, and whatnot. So across geography, the rice grows differently, paddy shows different signatures, geographically different. So there are people who are working on different types of indices, geographically different. That's one part of the problem. The second part where like today, the complete platform is in beta. We are planning to open it up to a little larger forum to get that early feedback, to get that how it can help the industry, help the customers. So I would say we also have some plan of ensuring that we're able to put up some part of the data always for research purposes. We still have to kickstart. We are not there yet, but we will be working with especially IIST, IISc, and even RRSC or even IARS. Those are some of the institutes that come in mind where PhD and MTech students there can automatically use our hyperspectral data to kind of build their, say, dissertation or thesis and whatnot. So that's something work in progress. I would say I will have to get back to you on the exact dates, timelines, what the plan is, and what.
Thank you. Avinash, have you joined us? Avinash, can you speak?
Or are you able to type out?
Avinash, your audio is not available here. Maybe you can type your question or you can send it to me on WhatsApp. JK Bhaiya has raised his hand. JK Bhaiya, you can unmute.
Yeah, Gautam, can you throw some light like on like FPGA aspects as well, like how much that would help so that the students would get a flavor of getting exposed to that, and how at least in the satellite building part, how big a role it plays?
Yeah, again, I don't have so much experience working on the electronics side of the satellite, but we have few FPGA engineers. So if you see, like as I mentioned, we have a camera interface module. What it does is at real time, it collects the data from the sensors. So we are doing at a very unprecedented volume. I mean, when you see it's somewhere around 50 to 100 times of traditional imaging, right? So there are a lot of things that needs to be done at hardware level more than a software level. That's where our in-house built electronics team, where we have the camera interface module, which reads out the entire data at the speed we are talking about. So there is a lot of scope there. Again, I don't have the exact details of what exactly it means to be a FPGA engineer in Pixxel and what are the scopes, but I can always share the JD, and also I can consult with the electronics team lead to put more details here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing, like, how is your platform? I've seen that Planet Labs is like one of the advisor. So how is your platform? Because they also have a data, I think, from close to 20, since 2013, I think. They have all the
Yeah.
data sets and everything. How, like, what is the additional thing that Pixxel is doing?
Right. Yeah, I think I mean, we all are like usually inspired by the amount of work Planet has done in this space. So they have built from like just they were very quick to the market, right? In terms of hundreds of satellites having the GSD and multispectral and whatnot. So from the platform side, of course, I would say today they are still at a place where they are able to solve with there are Planet use cases where you can combine Sentinel data with theirs, or even Landsat data with theirs, and then even some of the data that are coming up. But in our platform, you have already all those capabilities, which is solved by let's say Planet's platform. But on top of that, you'll have use cases that are just tailored to hyperspectral, which means the indices which you can never find if you don't have hyperspectral data, right? Let's say the flood index and the forest burn index and whatnot. So these are some things that are still evolving. I would say we are yet to get a lot more data to build our full list of spectral library. And for sure, it'll be a very continuous work. But as and when the research gets completed, it goes into the platform. So any users can build the workflow to get that kind of index. So yeah, it'll be all that plus extra things that is tailored for hyperspectral. So.
Nice, thank you.
Okay. Did Avinash manage to send it in WhatsApp? He can send it to me also. I can see here. Cool. Then Mustafa, in that case, just give me a moment. Okay, he has sent a mail. Just give me a moment. What is the planned life of your commercial satellites? Yeah, right. So the planned life for our like the tech demo, as I mentioned, right? They are the satellites which did not have orbit maneuvering capabilities. So eventually they had to re-enter due to orbital decay. For the commercial satellites, we are planning somewhere around 5 to 6 years. That's the lifetime planned year. So when they are launched in June of this year, it'll be at least up to June of 2029 or even June of 2030. So that's what we are aiming at. What is the propulsion system used in the satellites? I am afraid I cannot be delving into the, but there are details around like we will be able to give that information through when you reach out to me. When I say there are propulsion systems which are like chemical based, which we use to do the orbit corrections to have this five-year lifetime. I'll not be able to delve into the exact details, but it's a chemical propulsion system which provides somewhere around 5 years lifetime of the satellite. So. Yeah, thank you, Anash.
Thank you. Any other question from online participants? Okay, no more questions. Any other questions from students?
No, bhaiya.
Okay. So we can close the session. I would request that the students, maybe if you want to connect with Gowtham, you can connect with him on LinkedIn. And if Gowtham wants to share his mail ID or contact details, he can inform right now, or he can share it through me.
Yeah, I'll send it to Mustafa. Then I think mail or LinkedIn works.
Sir,
and thanks a lot for. Sorry.
Sir, if you can share the PPT with us also.
I'll have to check that. I will send it through the alumni association.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Proper chat.
Especially thanks Mustafa, thanks the entire alumni association. It's a little heartening moment to come from. I don't even know what this hall is actually like. I've never been to IST in last like 2-3 years. There are a lot of new development that has happened when we were there. But from that here, a lot of changes are happening, especially through IST alumni association and even professors working there. So I'd say thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to kind of to come back to talk about what all happened in say last 8 years in the Indian space sector and where we are all headed to. So yeah, I think thanks a lot. Really grateful.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you so much for accepting to be a part of this initiative. And all the best for your future in Pixxel and in the Megapixel factory. We hope to see many satellites coming out soon.
For
Guys,
sure.
we will close this. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye everyone. Take care. Have a good day.